What's going on, everybody? This is John J Gaming on the mic here, coming at you with a very special episode here of the FCS Dynasty that utilizes NCAA football 2006. And for those of you that have been following this series for quite some time now, what we have witnessed over the past 15 weeks of the regular season as well as conference championship week, we have seen several games play out here on the channel that help decide who will get the opportunity to play for the national championship game. And after all that time, it is now time to go ahead, doing so tonight, going to release the full bracket, all the teams that will compete for the FCS National Championship here in year number 1. So guys, it's going to be a really exciting episode here, reviewing all the teams that will get the opportunity to participate in this national tournament. Should be a good one, so make sure you go ahead, smack that like button, hit that subscribe button as well if you do happen to be brand new to the channel as well. And before we go ahead and jump into the FCS bracket reveal, just a little bit of reminder of how the FCS tournament works. Now, for those of you that may not be familiar with the FCS and how their playoff system works, what typically happens is that 24 teams make it to the FCS playoffs. The top 8 seeds from 1 through 8, they will get a first round bye and automatically move on to the round of 16. So that is the advantage of being a top 8 seed. Makes that path a little bit easier. The other 16 teams that make it into the FCS playoffs, they have to play in the first round, the round of 24, that those games will determine, who plays what, nationally ranked seed, all that good stuff. And as for how these seeds were distributed, it ends up being 10 automatic qualifiers that will end up, making it into the tournament. So for those 10 teams, all they had to do, win your conference, you're in. No questions asked. The only exception that I made was in the Sun Belt Conference because, just with how the number of teams that, were originally in NCAA football 2006, as well as the created teams that to help supplement that, there were no FCS teams, like real FCS teams in the Sun Belt Conference. So the Sun Belt does not get an automatic qualifying bid, but they can still get in as a at-large and, still participate in the tournament that way. So other than that, aside from the Sun Belt, every other conference does get an automatic qualifier spot. The other 14 seeds, those are your at-large seeds. So that's basically determined by your national ranking in the coaches poll. That's what I ended up using just to try to keep things consistent and uniform. So that's what it barrels down to. And also, before I want to jump into it as well, I do want to give a special acknowledgement and a shout out to the folks over at NCAA 06 with that next mod. That community has been extremely helpful. The reason that this playoff system is even possible is because of some of the folks over there, just that community at large. If you want to set up your own, tournaments in your NCAA 06 dynasties, I will leave a link to a video that I actually use in order to set up this playoff system, except added a little bit more steps. That'll be linked down in the pinned comments section, along with some other things. But with that being said, let's go ahead and now jump into the top 8 seeds that will automatically get a bye and move into the round of 16. So we start with, in the top 8 byes, with the number 1 overall seed in this year's FCS playoff bracket. We start with San Diego State, who does secure the number 1 seed. Of course, a team that did finish undefeated, and they are an automatic qualifier, winning the Mountain West Conference Championship, as they will experience the easiest road to that national championship title. this is a team that we saw a couple of times over the course of the season, just because of how they're ranked in the top 25 the whole time. We saw them against, I believe, both San Jose State, and then we also saw them in gameplay against UNLV as well, and they looked fantastic in both of those games. They took care of business, turned into blowouts. They know how to handle their business. So absolutely no surprise here whatsoever that San Diego State does garner that number 1 seed. Moving on to the number 2 seed, though, we got the Temple Owls, who is an independent school. Therefore, they do get the first at-large bid in the FCS tournament. Temple, another team that knows how to handle business. We saw them a few times in gameplay as well. We saw them week number 1, the very first game ever in this FCS series against Idaho State on the road. They blow out Idaho State first and foremost, and then they also took on both New Hampshire and James Madison, and they beat both those teams as well. James Madison, they blew out of the water, whereas New Hampshire, it was a little bit closer, but they still find a way to win that game. They win by a couple of possessions, and that is good enough to garner them the number 2 overall seed in this FCS tournament. Now, as for the number 3 seed, we got the Conference USA champion, the Eastern Carolina Pirates, locked in at number 3 in the country. Eastern Carolina, we've seen them quite a few times throughout the year, always taking care of business. They are also undefeated over the course of this season, and a very talented football team led by their star tailback Brian Haston. Haston, a guy that is on the Heisman finalist list. We will see during the offseason recap if he ends up winning that award or not, but definitely a very good football player. They also got guys like Ricky McFadden as well at that quarterback position. They are poised to make a deep run in this year's FCS tournament. Moving on now, we have the number 4 overall seed, the Akron Zips. The Akron Zips representing the new look MAC conference, as they are the automatic qualifier, taking care of business, logging themselves in by winning against Ball State 22-17. So, not the best performance going into this tournament, but Akron, of course, is a very talented football team as well. They only lost one singular game the entire season, and they are the best of the teams that have lost one game over the course of the year. So now we're out of the unbeaten. There was at least 3 unbeaten teams over the course of the season. Akron not one of them, but they do get a bye to move themselves automatically to the second round. Up next, we have the UNLV Rebels from, I believe, the Mountain West. Now, UNLV, they do have one loss on the year, and that one loss, it's to San Diego State. So, definitely not a bad loss if you're going to lose to somebody. They win the rest of their games. They did blow out Idaho very early in the season. Didn't really see them beyond that, but UNLV, very talented football team, and definitely earned this bye, moving in as the number 5 seed. As for the number 6 seed, we got North Texas, who was champions of the Sun Belt Conference, matter of fact. Although they do not have an AQ slot for the Sun Belt, they still will get in as an at-large, and deservedly so. Also a very talented team. We saw them quite a bit, at least in the early and middle parts of the season, and then their schedule did lighten up towards the end. North Texas, number 6 seed, they also received that bye into the round of 16. So this takes us to the number 7 seed, Utah State. Now, Utah State, we saw them a couple of times this year. They blew out South Dakota State in the debut of head coach Justin Faith, for that Jackrabbits program, which, South Dakota State did not have that great of a season, unfortunately. But they also played in what was essentially the WAC Conference Championship game between them and New Mexico State. And listen, Utah State, they did exactly what they needed to do. They look convincing doing so as well. So not only do they get the automatic bid for the WAC conference as well, but that also slides them into this top 8, so that's one less game that they got to play in order to go about playing for that FCS National Championship. And then finally, for the final bye here in this FCS tournament, we have the number 8 Montana Grizzlies from the new look Pac-10 conference. In Montana, you know, they did lose a game that maybe they shouldn't have lost early on, but Montana showing some very good work as a football team. They end up winning the Pac-10. They get that automatic bid, and most impressive win, they beat North Dakota State. That was North Dakota State's only loss. It was to this team right there, and you know, they took advantage of some chaos in the ACC conference towards the end of the year, you know, seeing James Madison and New Hampshire and Delaware kind of beat each other up towards the end of the season. They used that as well as took care of business on their own, and that will go ahead and get them into the final bye spot, as they will wait and see who they will face up against, you know, in the first round games. So with the top 8 bye weeks now officially revealed, we still have 16 more slots that are still to be determined. Now, these next 16 teams that are going to be revealed, they will actually be going about playing each other in the first round, and they will be playing for the opportunity to play the teams that we just revealed in the second round of this tournament. So with that being said, we'll go right into it here with the other 16 teams that have made it into the year 1 FCS playoff tournament. Starting with who San Diego State would play, first and foremost, we got number 17 Tulane getting in as the 17 seed, while the Idaho Vandals get in as the 16 seed. Now, Tulane, if you guys remember, they were actually on the preseason magazine for F1 Sports going into this season. Way back in episode number 1, they were hyped up as the national championship favorites, but a little bit of a lackluster regular season, but yet they still find a way to get themselves in here to the FCS national tournament. They did make it in. Idaho, on the other hand, Idaho, a team that actually was in the FBS, you know, when this game originally dropped, but they're now a real FCS team now. Idaho, they are the 16 seed, so they get to be considered a home team here in this you know, first matchup. Winner of this game will take on number 1 San Diego State. Up next, we do have the Ivy League champions, the Brown Bears, making it in as the 24 seed, as they are actually the only team that's in this tournament that is not even ranked in the AP Top 25. And listen, I know what I'm gonna see in the comment section potentially. Oh, Ivy League doesn't compete, you know, for national championships, yada yada yada. But listen, this is my series, and I mean, if y'all have a problem with that, you can hold my dick respectfully, right? But anyways, Brown's gonna get in. They will get an opportunity to play for the national championship. They did earn that, winning the Ivy League title, and they will go up against the number 9 ranked Rice Owls, who have the highest seed for somebody that does not have a first round bye. So definitely an intriguing matchup for sure. Plus, they both have different styles of football. Hopefully it'll be a fun matchup to watch. After that, we have the 20th ranked Kent State Golden Flashes. They get in as the number 20 seed. They go and play up against the number 13 seeded North Dakota State Bison. The Bison, despite not being a automatic qualifier, they still will get in as an at-large, and an impressive feat considering how created teams are treated in initial NCAA dynasties. Those created teams start off in the bottom 12, right? So North Dakota State, they had a long way to climb up, and they did exactly what they needed to do to play themselves into the FCS playoffs. Should be a team that got a bye week, but that just did not happen, unfortunately. That being said, though, they still get a chance to play for a national championship. One team that does get an automatic bid, though, is the number 12 seeded Delaware Blue Hens. They had a very courageous matchup against James Madison. They pulled that off, a very tight ball game, and they get in as the number 12 seed. But an interesting challenge for them in the first round. They take on the number 21 seed SMU Mustangs, who, SMU, definitely has a very strong offense for sure, but not very consistent. I would say, this is a team that could play with the best of anyone on any given day, but, haven't shown it consistently enough. That's why they're down here. SMU, watch out for them, though. We'll see if Delaware is prepared for the challenge. Now we move on to the next matchup in the first round. We got the 18-seeded McNeese State Cowboys, who, hailing from the new look SEC Conference, they do end up getting in as an at-large, as they actually did not make it to the conference championship game. They were surpassed by Georgia Southern, and we saw Georgia Southern win against Northwestern State in the previous episode. But McNeese State, they will still get in as an at-large. Speaking of at-larges, though, we got James Madison. They will be getting in as an at-large too, the number 15 seed in this FCS National Playoffs. James Madison, of course, played against Delaware in the ACC Conference Championship, and it just didn't work out for them at the end of the day. James Madison lost a close one, but they are still safely in, making it as an at-large. So that takes us to yet another ACC team that is in here. 3 teams from the ACC Conference. Definitely a good performance for the conference overall. New Hampshire, despite not playing in the conference championship game, they got in as the number 10 seed in this tournament. So looking pretty comfy, to say the least, so you love to see that. They will get the chance to play up against Tennessee Tech, who is the number 23 seed in this tournament. The only team with a lower seed, of course, is Brown, who was not in the top 25, but Tennessee Tech came out of that cluster that was the Big Ten Conference. There was at least like 5, 6, even like 7 or 8 teams that, were very much competitive for that Big Ten title, in the last few weeks. But Tennessee Tech, they found a way to eke one out. They get the automatic bid, and they get a chance to play for a national championship. Following the matchup against Tennessee Tech and New Hampshire, we have New Mexico State, who actually was ranked in the top 5 recently, but a little bit of a cold stretch for them, though, as they lost their last couple of games, including one to, Utah State, and I believe they lost also to San Jose State as well. So New Mexico State definitely not trending in the correct direction, but despite losing their last 2 games, they still make it as number 19 seed and as an at-large as well. And then, of course, we have Eastern Michigan representing the MAC Conference. Did not get the opportunity to play in the MAC Championship. That was superseded by Akron, who ended up winning the MAC title. Eastern Michigan, of course, still getting an opportunity to play for the national title. They get in as the 14 seed. So this will now go ahead and take us into the final matchup in the first round. The final 2 teams that do get in. We got number 22 seeded Southern, the Jaguars, who won the Big 12 Conference Championship. They do so convincingly, beating both Texas Southern back in the Week 14 episode for season number 1. That got them into the conference championship game, and then, of course, they also beat Grambling State convincingly in the actual title game to secure an automatic bid. And they are the 22 seed, which will take them up against the champion of the SEC Conference, a fellow automatic qualifier, the Georgia Southern, not Bulldogs, I believe the Eagles? Yeah, it has to be the Eagles. I don't know why I'm drawing a blank, but Georgia Southern, they do get in as the number 11 seed here, and a huge opportunity for Georgia Southern, as Ikeda Woods and company, he's healthy, and I'm really interested to see how he does with the bright lights. Should be a very exciting football team to watch. So now with all 24 teams now revealed for the FCS Season 1 bracket for that march to the national championship game, let me talk to you guys about how you guys can get involved in the FCS playoffs. As you can see on screen, I do have the full playoff bracket, for you guys, to reference, for whatever. I am also doing a little bit of a bracket challenge here for year number 1 of the FCS playoffs, and I'm gonna have some prizes as well for those of you that you'll want to get involved and take part in some of this FCS action in a more personal way. As for how you guys know, I like to reward my channel members, because they are the folks that like to support me in a more personal way. But what I am going to do, due to this series being without question the most popular series on the channel, and just as a way to say thank you, I will be giving away 2 channel member level prospects for the winner of the bracket challenge, as well as the person that finishes in second place as well. So let me explain. Back in episode number 1, I talked about how you guys can get a little bit more involved in the series going forward through custom prospects, and I have different ranges set depending on if you're a member of my Discord, which is also linked in the description, or if you happen to be a channel member. Now typically channel members, if you're part of that OG tier, that $5 tier to support the channel, you're going to be entitled to an 80 to 85 overall prospect. Day 1 tier guys is 75 to 80 overall, Discord 70 to 75, and then if you're not in any of them but you submit a prospect through YouTube, your guy is 60 to 69 overall, which, especially for the first couple of seasons, and given that a lot of the teams in the FCS are in that D range, sets up great opportunities for guys to start early, or at least be contributing to the team in year number 1, right? But what I want to do is whoever wins the bracket challenge, they will get a free 80 to 85 overall prospect at a random FCS school. Second place will get a day 1 tier level prospect for year number 2, also at a custom school. So first place gets somebody at a random place at 80 to 85 overall. Second place is 75 to 80 overall at a random school. So if that's something that you are interested in, I will have that in the pinned comment section for you guys, for you to go ahead and check out. And you can, one thing that you could also do is, just to make sure, let me know down in the comment section if you did end up joining the bracket challenge. If you are interested in joining, as of recording this video, I will give you guys a couple of days to submit your picks, because what I intend to do is Thursday at 6 p.m. Eastern is when I do plan on releasing the first round episode for the FCS playoffs. So the games that will decide who will move on to the round of 16. So at Thursday at 6 p.m., that is when I will cut off the entries. But yeah, man, that is it for the reveal of the Season 1 FCS playoffs. I hope you guys are extremely excited for the upcoming playoff action, man. Let me know how you're feeling down in the comment section, and if you enjoyed today's playoff reveal, man, do me a favor, guys, smack that like button, hit that subscribe button as well if you do happen to be brand new, as next episode we will have the first round of the FCS playoffs. But with that, this is John J Gaming on the mic signing off, and I hope you guys are all out there having a good one. Take care, everybody.